Joining us now, staff writer at The Atlantic, Toulouse Olorunnipa, Punchbowl co-founder and MSNBC political contributor Jake Sherman, former Montana senator and MSNBC political analyst Jon Tester, and writer-at-large and host of the Bulwark podcast, Tim Miller. He is also an MSNBC political analyst. Toulouse, you write a piece about this entire situation entitled "Trump is Trying and Failing to Shield MAGA from the Shutdown." You write, quote, "Farmers, a key constituency for Trump, are among those getting hurt. The Department of Agriculture halted crucial farm aid just as planning for the 2026 planting season was getting underway. Furloughs and mass layoffs, meanwhile, have decimated a small business lending program popular in rural communities. Federal subsidies keeping small town airports afloat are scheduled to run out within days. And despite what Trump might suggest, the majority of the federal employees who are currently going without a paycheck live outside of Washington, D.C., the D.C. metropolitan area. Trump-friendly West Virginia, for instance, has among the highest number of government workers per capita in the country. Trump has been clear he is going after Democratic states, so-called Democratic programs. But some of the states that have the largest workforces we mentioned of federal employees are Oklahoma, where I hail from, West Virginia. Tell me about the impact on Trump's own base here.
Yeah, I should start by saying that Americans are being hurt by the shutdown writ large, and the president, in any other normal time, the president would be concerned about that. Any American being harmed, not getting a paycheck, not being able to get their benefits because the government is shut down. But President Trump has talked about this shutdown by saying that Democrats are the ones that are being hurt. Democrats are being killed by the shutdown, that this is a shutdown that gives us an opportunity to go after Democratic programs and also to protect Republicans. And so he's seen it in this very red-blue kind of partisan lens. But when you actually look at how people are being impacted, a lot of Republican states, a lot of Republican constituents, including farmers, including people in rural America, are being hurt by the shutdown. And we've seen the president try to have new carve-outs, try to open up programs that previously were closed to try to protect and help members of his own party. But he only has a certain amount of power. He cannot do exactly what he wants to do to shield his own voters from this shutdown. And so we have seen farmers, we have seen rural Americans, small business owners, a number of different people, even people who are trying to access airports in small towns being impacted by the shutdown. And things would only get worse if this continues into November, when SNAP and other programs, including the thing that at the very heart of this shutdown, which is the healthcare subsidies, those are disproportionately used by Republicans in places like Florida and Georgia and Texas, places that did not expand Medicaid. And so very soon this will become even more of a problem for red state Americans, and Trump will have even more reason to engage on this and to make sure that his voters are not harmed by the situation that we're in.
So, Toulouse, then how does the administration defend the position here?
Well, they are still talking about this in a partisan lens, blaming Democrats, saying that any pain from this shutdown is coming because of Chuck Schumer and the Democrats not opening the government. And they're still talking about this as a partisan situation where, Democrats are the ones that are being harmed by Rust vote, taking away energy subsidies and whatnot. And he listed 16 states that were won by Kamala Harris in November. He did not mention the state of Montana, which was also impacted by this. I talked to local leaders in the town of St. Regis. They were expecting new jobs coming from a hydrogen project, and that was canceled by this. They lost out on potentially millions of dollars, and they had to cancel this program. And they had just lost the sawmill 4 years ago, and now they are not being able to get these jobs that were supposed to come in through this energy program that was going to revitalize the town of St. Regis. And so this is something that you can try to surgically hit Democrats by cutting off programs, but you're going to harm Americans, and you are potentially going to harm Republicans as well. And so they are talking about this in a partisan lens. How it's being felt across the country is very much different.
Jake, let's go over to Capitol Hill for a moment. We already see Republicans trying to figure out these workarounds. Senator Josh Hawley trying to propose a bill to restore funding for SNAP projects. What are they telling you behind closed doors, or what are they saying in the hallways there about their concerns here?
Well, let me just put it this way. SNAP is probably the most concerning of all of these programs. SNAP, which is effectively food stamps, feeds 40-something million people. And states around the country, red, blue, and everything in between, have said the federal government has told them that they don't have money to issue benefits for November. That's a huge problem. I mean, governors are now trying to find other ways, state workarounds, food banks, to try to fill that hole. They're not going to be able to fill that hole, obviously, because this is millions of people in some of these states. In some of the big states, I think California, it's $5.5 million. The position has been, generally speaking, that neither chamber is going to pass these one-off bills to fill the hole during the shutdown. Now, Senate Democrats today blocked a bill that would have paid federal workers for during the shutdown, which is, effectively a political decision because they thought Trump would have too much power to pay who he wanted during the shutdown. Now, there is a chance, perhaps, I don't know, we'll have to see, that Hawley's bill will work, which would, as you said, fund SNAP. And Mike Johnson signaled that the House would come back into session. They've been out of session for more than a month to pass that bill. But that's not been the MO so far, right? I mean, they've not passed these one-off bills. In previous shutdowns, you'd have the House and Senate on the floor trying to get through bills to reopen parts of the government, reopen the DOD, reopen, various agencies. That's just not happening this time around.
Yeah.
The Republicans' position has been that Democrats should not block the funding bill, the clean funding bill that the House passed more than a month ago.
And of course, Democrats are digging in when it comes to the ACA subsidy extensions. A Trump-aligned pollster, Jake, released Wednesday some numbers that show that many people feel as though the longer this drags out, the more they are likely to blame Republicans, and also the less likely they are to vote for the people who don't extend those tax credits. Senator Thune has said that he would set a vote on ACA subsidies if the Democrats reopen the government. He told our Ali Vitale that recently. Are congressional Republicans moving closer to working with Democrats on this issue? And are Democrats any closer to kind of taking the olive branch from them?
I would say that we are probably farther than we've ever been from to extend these tax credits. The more both sides dig in, the less likely, in my view, it becomes. Although I think Republicans will take the blame if these subsidies are not extended and they expire, and health care premiums go up for millions and millions of Americans. I think that will be Republicans will be blamed for that, undoubtedly. Now, I don't know who's going to get blamed for this shutdown. Democratic polls say Republicans get blamed. Republican polls say Democrats get blamed. So I'm not entirely sure, nor am I sure that it actually matters next year in an election year. We're 12 months, a little bit more than 12 months from an election. That is eons away in Trump's universe. But and I think the president has said a bunch of times he wants to work on health care writ large. I think that is a morass that the Republicans are going to get bogged down in for months. Senator Tester was here when Republicans tried to do this last time, tried to repeal and replace Obamacare. It never goes well. It's not a good issue for Republicans. But I think there is some concern in the White House that they have to somehow try to solve this problem.
So, Senator, how do we solve this problem when it seems that parties are at loggerheads, and the more workarounds we see, that seems to benefit the Republicans in holding this out, and the more intransigent Democrats seem, it doesn't fare well with the American people? What do we do?
Yeah, the American people end up losing in this situation big time. And I would just say this, a couple things for the record. These aren't Democrat programs or Republican programs. These are programs that affect everybody. And when you start eliminating programs, it impacts everybody. We talked about the energy project in Montana, a state that voted just overwhelmingly for Trump. Voted me out of office, did everything right from a Trump point of view. They get their energy program cut. So everybody feels the wrath, especially rural America. So how does it get solved? First of all, the president has to not want to have the shutdown continue. That's first of all. I think he thinks this shutdown is a winner for him. I don't think it's a winner for anybody. And I think everybody's going to get blamed, and especially the Republicans, because they control the House, the Senate, and the White House. But when people start talking and understand that these subsidies to make sure that health insurance doesn't go through the roof is not a bad thing to do for everybody, Democrats, Republicans, independents, the works, then I think we'll see a government shutdown end.
So, Tim, is the shutdown a winner for President Trump and the Republicans, or the longer this drags on as Senator Tester mentioned, they're the ones with the power here. It looks bad.
Yeah, I mean, look, to Jake's point, I think that the Democrats have done a good job of making this shutdown about the extension of these subsidies. And if people are seeing their healthcare premiums go up, I think Republicans are probably going to get blamed for that. To the question of like whether this is a political winner or loser for Trump, this is maybe an unsatisfactory answer for people, but the answer might be basically neither outside of the context of the healthcare issue. We're 13 months away from the next midterm. The way Trump does business, there are going to be a million controversies and scandals between now and then. What the economy looks like next year is going to be a big factor in how the midterms turn out. I think that this shutdown is likely going to be a distant memory unless we're still shut down by then, which I guess is not a 0% possibility. But and so I think that because there are not acute political consequences for either side right now in the shutdown, I think that explains why this has been unlike some of the ones we've seen in the past, where this is, going on like kind of indefinitely, and there's not like a clear path back to the negotiating table. Traditionally, or at least in modern times, this has been a Democratic president that wants to keep the government open, negotiating with a Republican Congress that wants to cut spending. So there's at least a terms of debate there to work from. We don't have that here. This president, I don't think, cares that much about whether the government's open or not. And as you mentioned, sees this as a winner. The Democrats have a base that wants them to fight, and so they see this as kind of a winner for them. And American people are suffering, and until that suffering becomes a political problem for one side or the other, I think this is going to go on.